So how then does the church talk about the issue of pornography? He points out three general narratives, and I'm going to tell you about which one we tend to use today in the church. So the first one is the issue of traditional values, that family values, scriptural values, personal purity. There's a message there that, hey, this is traditionally how we want to and how you should live your lives. But realistically, that's not something that we talk about a lot today. The second narrative is the issue of public performer harm. Now, I've talked about this before on this channel where we need to consider love of our neighbor. Is it loving of our neighbor to consume pornography if in the porn industry there's exploitation, there's drugs, there's abuse, there's violence, there's all these themes that we don't want to take part of. So he talks about the public performer harm narrative. And lastly, he talks about the personal user harm. That is, what are the consequences on the user of pornography? And so there can be consequences. We think about addiction, depression. Something that is really prevalent, seen even outside the church, is the issue of porn-induced erectile dysfunction, where it can be causing significant problems even for you to be able to engage in a sexual relationship with another person. And as I think about these three narratives, it's kind of funny for me to reflect on how have I seen these narratives all over this channel with the content that I have been producing. And I think I've really touched on all three of these at various times. But he says, currently, about 80% of Christian communication on the issue of pornography is from that personal viewer harm, that we have tended to view this as, hey, this is something that's bad for you, here's all the consequences in your life. And I think that's unfortunate because we are essentially trying to keep people out of something that is destructive, maybe particularly for selfish reasons, instead of thinking about it from three different lenses. What is the relationship between you and God and how you should act? What is the relationship between you and your neighbor? How does pornography affect you loving your neighbor? And I think there's some good to the personal viewer harm. We certainly should talk about that, but I hate to see that we are neglecting the other two. But overall, the reason he says we're focusing on these narratives is because there's a general sense that we are losing the war with pornography. And I think that's true. As I have conversations with Christian leaders, there can often be a sense of overwhelm. Like, what are we going to do if so many people are consuming this content? The link to this book, if you want to check it out, is in the description. Highly recommended. There's some awesome research in there. Well, this is Jason for Soulfire. Here on this channel, we want to offer gospel hope for a porn-filled world. I will catch you in the next one.